If you love talking about cats, but your friends and family are kind of over it, this is the podcast for you. Join your hosts, Danielle Stray Woolley and Elizabeth Calico Gearhart, on the Jersey Podcats, where everyday cat lovers share funny stories, challenging situations, and ask their questions about cats. All right, let's get right into this episode.
Hi, everybody. I'm Danielle Woolley.
And I'm Elizabeth Gearhart, and we are the Jersey Podcats.
I'm not doing it this time because last time I was so off that it distracted me. And then I still call it out every time. That's going to be my little quirk, I think.
Okay. Well, so we have an amazing guest today, Melanie Savage, all the way from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and a topic we have not discussed before, right, Danielle?
Right.
So we're going to jump right in with Melanie. Melanie is a social worker, and she's found herself getting assigned to the cases where the people have cats. So there must be some sort of cosmic connection there. And she's going to talk a little bit about what that's like to work with people in need of social services who have cats in their house. So welcome, Melanie.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. So what is it like? What do you do?
So I am, first and foremost, I've been a proud cat mom since the age of 4.
She's let me just set the street, make it straight.
Yeah. I have had cats since I was 4. I am now 37. And so I love cats. I love talking about cats, everything cats, which I'm pretty sure friends and family by now are sick and tired of, but it's fine because I have no shame.
Hey, you know what? I know a podcast that you can totally be on for people whose friends and family are sick of them talking about cats.
Yeah, okay. Hosted by Danielle and Elizabeth.
Exactly. So yeah, I am a registered social worker based out of Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. I've been in the world of social work for 17 years, and for the last, I would say 9, I've worked in community mental health, supporting individuals in case management. And those individuals are often experiencing severe and persistent mental illness and at times substance use disorders. And so I would say even throughout the 17 years, most of the folks I've gotten to work with have had animals. But for some reason in my time with the agency I'm with now, I would say about 90 to 95% of folks have had cats. So it's amazing. And so part of my role is meeting with people in community. And so when I meet with them in their homes, a lot of the work that I do in terms of building rapport and helping them with a lot of goals, I try to include their animals. And so, I like to ask about, tell me about your relationship with your animal. When did you get your cat? What does your cat, mean to you? And often their faces just light up. They get so excited to talk about their cats, and they're such proud cat parents. And so it's just a really good way to make that connection with folks. And the cats are usually a really big motivator for moving forward with recovery. And so I try as much as possible to bring that relationship to the forefront of a lot of our work. A lot of the folks that I get to work with, they're low income, so significantly marginalized. Some folks are experiencing houselessness. Some folks are, precariously housed. And so, on Ontario disability or social assistance. So really struggle with the accessibility and affordability of veterinary care. And sometimes actually have to forego their own human health care goals because they don't have anybody in their life to provide respite care. So, for example, if someone has to go into an inpatient program to stabilize on medication, or someone wants to address, their eating disorder or substance misuse, they can't because they have no one to take care of their cat or dog if they have a dog, and so they forego that support for themselves. So they face very unique circumstances.
That is unusual. I've just always had someone around that could take care of the cats when I had to be gone, which is nice. But I empathize with them because we've had power outages and I've stayed home with the cats rather than go somewhere else. because I felt like I needed to take care of them and froze to death practically. But I can also see, Melanie, that you are really a cat magnet, because I have never seen so many of Danielle's cats.
Well,
as
I was
I'm
trying not to
seeing now.
smirk because you were talking about something serious. What you just witnessed was, I heard it before I saw it. I heard Tony crying, and he's usually a quiet one. And that's how I know they're picking on him. And then you saw Loki hunting him behind him. So Loki is chasing him back and forth. Just,
Right.
I guess, because he's bored, because I've been on meetings all day.
And I never usually see that much of the cats, but
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, cats are much easier than dogs because they hardly eat anything, right? And they don't need a lot, although they do need veterinary care sometimes. So do you think that's why more people have cats, or do you think that you just are drawn to the cat ones?
Honestly, I think I might just be drawn to them. I don't know, but I love it. It's because right now I don't have a cat in my life. So Tika passed away late 2021, and then a few months later I adopted Winston. And I only had Winston for just shy of 1 year, and he passed away in May this year, very suddenly. And so I haven't been ready to adopt yet, and I'm thinking about fostering. Yeah, I think I'm ready to foster. So when I get to see these folks, I get my cat fix through them. So I'm not sure if it's because cats are cheaper or less timely in terms of taking care of them, not having to leave the house. I think I might just be drawn to those folks with cats, because a lot of my colleagues work with a lot of folks with dogs.
Oh, that's interesting. So you're the lucky one then.
Very much so.
Yeah, because dogs can be scary. Cats are usually pretty good. They either like you or they run away.
I mean, cats are unapologetically themselves, right? They've got great boundaries for themselves. And so that's why I've always gravitated to cats. So yeah.
Yeah. And they are a huge comfort. So like, especially for people that are in those situations where they're going through a rough time in their life for a while, just having a cat to just kind of hang out with and be there, and just like you can pet them, they purr, and it's a lot of help, I think.
Yeah. And I know that I've had instances where I've been yelling around the house pretty demandingly, saying, someone come love me. I'm sad, or I'm having a rough day. And when they don't, I threaten them with bringing home another cat. So I'm like, there's a lot in here. Somebody come snuggle right now.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of the folks that I work with, they don't have a lot of trusted allies, whether, it's friends or family. And so, a lot of folks also have significant histories of trauma. And so the idea of breaking down that wall for new people is so much harder than bringing an animal into their lives. And so, cats, the purring, right? That's a form of self-soothe for a lot of people when the cat lays on your chest, or petting the cat, right? I remember Tika just, being by my side, and she was so intuitive. And I think that's a really cool thing about cats, is they're so intuitive to your mood. And so for a lot of folks that I work with that struggle with anxiety or depression, or are triggered from certain things, the cats are a really great way to help ground them and soothe them. And it's often one of the most secure connections and relationships that they have.
Yeah, I believe that.
What's the most interesting cat that you've met through one of your, do you call them patients or clients or community members?
So clients, yeah, I've often used clients. I'm trying to think. I mean, most of them have been really lovely. They like super friendly, but I've got one individual whose cat is really good at, like, I've had enough, like, back off, walk away.
That sounds like me.
I've never.
You guys run the episode. I'm done. Bye.
I've never been hissed at by someone's cat.
Oh, that's good.
I've never been slapped. That's all my own cat. My cat was like the wild child menace of the world. So I feel lucky that I've had folks with cats that have been quite pleasant.
Yeah, that is nice. Well, they probably know you're there to help, right? And so they're gonna get along with you. So, well, Danielle, you had a story about a cat comforter. Do you want to tell that story?
The cat comforter. Well, I had a story about, yes, thank you for reminding me, the conversation from a whole 10 minutes ago that I forgot. So So I have a family member that does hospice, and one of her patients had a cat that was very old, and if she's in hospice, the woman my cat's in the background again, hunting again. I'm waiting for Tony to fly by, go, that's the noise he makes. He sounds like a little baby. But she, her patient and the husband, her cat was with her all the time. And the husband said, I don't know, if I'll be able to care for this cat as much as my wife did. I would love to find it a loving home. So then the hospice nurse accidentally brought the cat home and kept it. But what was interesting is they took the cat for, a checkup at the vet, and nothing was wrong with the cat. The cat was completely fine. And shortly thereafter, the cat, didn't make it any longer. So there's something there about how maybe the cat was hiding it or faking it and really wasn't, but was kind of hanging on there for its family member.
They're so good at that.
Yeah.
Or
but
she died of a broken heart. I mean,
yeah, maybe. Well, but she knew that the hospice nurse was this is the one that's going to take me home and let me be okay.
Yeah.
So
that's another thing too. I see it a little bit in Canada.
You're losing your headphones there.
Go back.
For those who are not watching on YouTube and listening on the podcast, she's, very animated speaking, and her earpods just keep flying out of her ear.
Oh dear. In Canada, I think over the last couple of years, there's been a new charity that's come out that's across Canada. It's called My Grandfather's Cat, and it's specific for hospice patients or individuals who have passed on that are older. And it's about rehoming, giving a second forever chance to the cat. And so that's something that I've actually come across in the last year or so. I've seen on social media because that's a huge reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
and
think
we've had,
oh, go ahead.
Sorry. We've had episodes where we've spoken about planning. Obviously everyone wants to live till they're 500 years old, but that's just not reality. What is your plan if something, and unfortunately, a lot of families think oh, my family will take my cats in, and being involved with rescue, that's not the case. We get more than one time a week contacted from people. Someone passed, we need to rehome. We can't keep it for reason X, Y, Z, or the cats are living in the home vacant while we're waiting for the house to sell. Is there anything you can do? So it's really, really, really important to have things in place. And you were just saying too, Melanie, is that, you have your clients that want to get better, but then they don't have care for their cats. What do you recommend to them? Or are there any resources or ideas for people in such a situation?
So I'm actually doing my master's right now, and that was a focus for a few of my projects. I did a research project on the lack of accessibility to respite care for marginalized populations that don't fit a specific mold. So for instance, in Ottawa, there are a number of resources for individuals victims of domestic violence. But a lot of my clients don't fit that criteria. And so then there isn't accessible and available and affordable respite care. I mean, if I wanted to go on a vacation and I needed, a cat hotel, I don't know that I would be able to afford that if I was going for an extended period of time. And these folks that need inpatient treatment, for example, sometimes that's upwards of 30 days. And so that's not readily available across the board here. There is, one or two charities right now that offer short-term boarding for these types of circumstances, but I don't think it's enough to really cover the demand for population that really does want to quote unquote get better and access the healthcare that they really need.
Based on your experience, do you have any recommendations for how people could approach that topic? So if somebody was in need of help, whether it was needing a mental break or needing to get healthcare or, needing to go to an inpatient program for a set amount of time, how do you even open that conversation, ask for help? What have you seen successful?
So with the agency that I work with, we've partnered quite closely with a local charity called Community Veterinary Outreach. And a lot of workers will kind of reach out to them to seek some guidance in terms of what they know might be available, and if they have any funds available to, or any connections in the community to provide that relief for clients. Some folks will reach out to the local Humane Society as well. They have a short term, I think it's about a week opportunity.
I know some
but I
vet
think,
offices do too, but it's costly.
yeah, so
Right.
it's not something that I think a lot of workers in my organization have had a lot of luck with, unfortunately. I think we have a
Right.
ways to go. And so I'm hoping that there's more conversation that can happen over the next while to identify this population that doesn't meet the criteria of domestic violence, right? Who's being
Right.
left out.
Yeah,
That's
maybe
a
someone
tough
listening too
Yeah,
can give some suggestions.
that's a tough population to serve, I think, because there's stigma around it and there really shouldn't be. But that's one reason why we're doing this podcast, is to build a community of people. So if I told Danielle tomorrow, oh my gosh, can you watch my 3 cats for a week? She would probably do it, right, Danielle?
Sure.
Yeah, and I would take care of hers. I don't know. She said,
Don't let that word get out though, because I do
no.
have quite a few people who have already reached out to me over the next few weeks
See,
for help.
see what I'm talking about. But I mean, if you can get a community together where people are willing to help each other and
Yeah.
step in an emergency, then I think community building is the best way to do that. And I mean, it is hard if you're in a bad life situation, but you need your pets more than ever, right? If you're in a bad
Yeah.
life situation.
I think Elizabeth too, you touched on something, was the stigma. And there's a strong societal discourse, and it's also prevalent within social work, that these individuals that are struggling with mental health, substance misuse, homelessness, that kind of thing, there's this perception that they don't deserve to have a cat, for example. Like
Right.
they would say my clients don't deserve to have their cats because if they're not well enough or they can't afford the necessary vet care, then they shouldn't have them. But
Right.
in the last 2 years in my MSW studies, I've read a lot of research about homeless and at risk of being homeless populations having animals in their lives. And the research does demonstrate that for a lot of these folks, their animals are as well taken care of, and sometimes even better than the general population, because they will do whatever it takes to be there for their animal. And so I'm actually this week starting a placement for 7 months with a local charity called Community Veterinary Outreach. And it really does support those individuals who are experiencing homelessness or at risk of losing their housing, who have cats, who have dogs, and they provide pro bono veterinary care and also provide
Yes.
some primary health care at their vet clinics.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's-
on one hand, it's awful that it's come to the need for that, but
Mhm.
it's great that people have recognized and put resources in place to help for that type of situation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
have you ever encountered something really funny or unusual when you've gone in and talked to some of these cats and cat people?
Talk to the cats, because we know
Talk
you
to the
talk to the cats
cats?
first before you talk to
I would.
I do. There's some folks I'll walk in and I'll be like, "How's my pseudo daughter?"
Aw.
And folks love it, but the cats sometimes will come right up to me. There's one cat who traditionally, up until I think like 2 weeks ago, would kind of keep her distance, would let me pet her, but all of a sudden 2 weeks ago just flopped on her back and let me pet her belly. And I was like, oh,
Aw.
I've made it in life. This is it. This is what I've lived for. And so I haven't had any like quirky or really funny kind of scenarios, just really good interactions with cats, and watching that interaction or that relationship between clients and the cats it's a privilege to be able to be a part of that.
Yeah. And I can understand
Yeah.
what you're saying about, for some people, like using their animal, not using them, but leveraging their animal as building a relationship with them to say like, hey, like, obviously I'm here to help you. This is for you. But what about your pet? Like, that's your life too. How can that help bring you to your, goal or finish line, whatever it is that they're working to recover from?
Well,
And
I
that's
think
the thing is as I often will say, I want to help you maintain this relationship for as long as possible until the animal is ready, to pass on. I want to help you in whatever way I can. Is that through a referral to community vet outreach? What do you need in your home to maintain that relationship? Sometimes I'm out buying kitty litter. Sometimes it's helping them find a more affordable option for cat food.
Yeah, and I think the
Yeah.
reason that these cats are so important to people that are going through difficult times, anybody, not just the people that you're dealing with, is sometimes you can feel like, oh, everybody hates me, nobody loves me, I'm unlovable, blah, blah, blah. But your cat always loves you. And they can sense that when you're feeling that way, right?
Very much so. I guess I have this perception that we kind of present two selves in the world. So we present the self that is socially acceptable to everyone, right? And then you get to come home and you get to be your true authentic self with your cat,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
They don't judge you. I mean, for the most part, most cats won't judge you. Mine did, but it's fine.
They give you judgy eyes though.
Yeah.
Yes. But they're just there, right? Like they love you wholeheartedly. And I think for folks that I get to work with, that's super important.
Yeah, well, I think Max, who's not on the wall behind me, he and Mercutio, who's my 12-year-old, he's the one in the little Lord Fauntleroy outfit there. They're in competition over me. And so I'll be sitting on the sofa and Cuscio will be sitting next to me and Max will be laying on the floor and he'll just be looking at me with this simmering look in his eyes, just laser focused. Like, what are you doing letting him sit next to you? It's so
Aw.
funny. I know.
Yeah.
He's a crazy
Now,
little kid.
I like to ask each episode, and I've gotten a little lax trying to pick and choose episodes so it's not so repetitive. But it sounds like you're doing some really cool things. We know you love cats. What is something you're excited about, either in life or related to cat stuff?
There's a lot. So I'm finishing up my master's degree at the end of March next year. I'm hoping to actually open private practice by summer. To really thank you, to support folks with pet loss. When I went through that with Tika, I looked in Ottawa and there wasn't really anyone that specifically focused on pet loss, and that was hard for me. Because I genuinely believe there's a difference between traditional therapy and companioning somebody through their grief. And so I think that's an untapped niche, at least here, that I'd like to kind of offer up. But I think in supporting marginalized pet parents for so many years, that grief support is not readily accessible to them. And so I'd like to find ways of having that available for them, whether it's through providing pro bono support to different agencies who work with folks with cats or dogs, but also
I like how you
offering...
say "or dogs."
Yeah, we'll let the dogs come in too.
Yeah, or even supporting workers in the community. I've had a few really meaningful conversations with other professionals saying, we need this. We don't know what to say. We don't know what to do. We just know that most of our folks have animals and we want to be able to support them when they no longer have their animals, whether it's because they've been forced to surrender, there's a home takeover, someone steals the animal never comes home, or the animal passes on. Workers, I think, are thinking about it. They just don't have a platform or a go-to person or whatever yet. And I'd like to maybe provide that in the future.
That would be great. Yeah, we're still mourning Checkers, who died 1.5 years ago. We will always mourn her because she was such a great cat. That'll never go away, but at least we have people we can talk to, and Danielle and I are trying to build a cat community here. So if people want to talk about things like this, they can. So yeah,
I can definitely say I resonate with Checkers. In that hearing you speak about Checkers, I'm like, oh, that sounds a lot like Tika. Holy cow, someone else gets it.
Yeah, it's so hard, but but I applaud you for what you're doing. That is really cool that you're going to open your own practice next summer. So yeah.
Well, we thank you so much for reaching out and for being on the show.
Thank you
or the
so
episode
much.
or the podcast, whatever we're calling it today. I like to mix it up here. And then we hope you join our Facebook community too, because,
Mhm.
as we have more availability right now, it's been a little crazy. But we know we want to keep leveraging community to help each other. If somebody's got something weird going on with their cat, or someone's looking for a resource, or someone just wants to share, hey, look at how adorable my cat is. Like, you guys have seen the memes of look at my cat, look at my cat. I do that at least 10 times a day.
I still do it, and I don't even have a cat.
Yeah.
So, well, we're here for it then.
Yeah, poor Danielle gets all my text pictures of my cats.
Yeah, and then
Just
sometimes I'm
sent
not
her
sure if I
today.
answered. So, but
Yeah,
I
you
got
did.
one. I got like 3 today, I think, so far.
Oh, did
Elizabeth.
you get 3 already?
I think so.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, thank you again for being here, and
Thank you so much.
we hope our listeners enjoyed. If you have any feedback or you want to chime in on the conversation, join us in our Facebook community. Visit us at thejerseypodcast.com, as I forgot to turn off the noise on my computer. If you heard that, sorry. And we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks a lot, Melanie.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening. Let's keep the conversation going. Give this podcast a rating so other cat lovers can find it. Connect with the Jersey Podcasts on social media, or visit thejerseypodcasts.com and leave a message sharing a story or question about cats. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll catch you in the next episode.